Well, welcome to the Nightman Show, where I keep you company during these late hours and early morning hours. As you can tell, the moon is out and it's bright tonight. Yes, very, very bright. We do like that a lot because it shows us how peaceful and quiet and serene the night can be. So, let's get on with the show, shall we? First thing, also, like usual, I always ask you to begin. You have your clock, alarm clock, whatever. And I always ask you, the first thing you want to do is turn it off. If it's battery operated, you want to remove the battery from the clock. We don't want to be disturbed during our nightly hours. So, plug it from the wall, take the battery out, put a pillow over it, whatever it takes to turn it off. Because we don't need the time at night. No. So, and I have some very special little hacks and tricks for you. Something to get me by, if you know what I mean. Now, we also will be waiting for any calls to come in with you little lovelies if you have any questions about the night and how I can help you. And of course, well, we've turned off the time. Also, I have here key. We all know what that's for. Remember to lock all your doors, windows, anything that locks. Because we don't want to be disturbed. No. Normally, during the night, you shouldn't be disturbed. But lock your doors and windows, just as a precaution, just to make sure. Yes. And as the peaceful night goes by, we will have certain, maybe even guests that will be joining us to help you relax. So, now, another thing too is I have here, yes, it's a light, and a light bulb. You're gonna go around your house. Yes. I noticed that a lot of people have been calling me in and saying that they've been having a lot of trouble with the lights at night. So, little trick. What you want to do is you want to take your light and unscrew the bulb. Yeah. I know it sounds simple, isn't easy, but believe me, it works. You want to. You can even remove the bulb if you want. Yeah. You can totally remove the bulb and put it aside. And as you know, of course, I'm also a big fan of ASMR, as usual. So, we'll have some tingles too. So remove the bulb and put it aside. Yes. Because what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to get yourself these handy little night lights. Yes. The name says it all, right? Night light. And you're going to want to put these all around your house or apartment or wherever you live. You can put these little night lights, and depending on the bulb, you could put different colors, you can put different intensities. You don't want it too bright. Just enough. Yeah. Oh, I think we have our first call coming in. Yes. So, and you could get these online for sure. Let's take our first call. Yes, you're speaking to the Nightman. What is your name and your question?
Hi, Mr. Nightman.
Well, hello there, Mr.
First,
A.
congratulations on your show. It's very entertaining and relaxing for me. I have a question for you. You see, I work nights at Walmart, and when I get out, it's very light and bright out. When I get home, and you see, I can't afford curtains because I work at Walmart. Do you have any tricks for me so that I can relax when I get home? Thank you, Mr. Nightman.
Well, that is a very good question. Often, I have people saying that they're having trouble when the sun comes up in the morning and the moon dissipates and disappears. Well, I have a very good hack for that. Yes, Mr. Ray. So what you're going to do is, and like you said, you can't afford to buy curtains. Well, something very simple that I learned a while ago is here. What you're going to want to do is you're going to want to get yourself some garbage bags. Doesn't matter the brand or the name or whatever. What is important, and remember this, they have to be black, totally black, blackout. Try not to get the green ones or some of the cheaper ones that are sort of transparent. You don't want that. No. Then, what you're going to do, I love these ones because they're scented and they smell divine. You're going to want to take out the garbage bag. Like so. And you're going to open it up. If you can get the large ones or the big ones, they're the best. And in a box like this, which is not expensive, and you can get anywhere from 30 to 50 to 100 bags. What you're going to do is you're going to take your bag and you're going to go around your house and tape them on all your windows. It's a quick fix and your house will be totally dark. For when that bright sun comes up in the morning, which we all try and avoid. And don't cut them open. Don't try and save. No, that's not what you want. You want it to be dark. Because why I'm telling you this, and I know I've mentioned this before. You just put this aside. I love these tingles. I hope all you little night owls are comfy and cozy. Okay, so now you go around your house, put up all those garbage bags, and also get a little box. Take your box for the light bulbs. And put your light bulbs back in the box. So you'll know where they are. In case you ever need them. Very important. And like I was saying, why I'm telling you all this is because, you see, I used to work days. And I ended up, well, getting tired of all that light. Yes. So what I did, and this is very important for you to follow, because you could do the same for yourself. Yes. I decided to go and work nights. Yes. Oh, I tried evenings, but nothing beats the night. It's so calm. Yeah. And honestly, you seem to be more productive. Yes. Because the nights are cooler. Yes. They help you, unwind and relax while you're doing your job. And you see, my job was not relaxing though all the time. No. I used to work in a factory, and this is a true fact. I used to work in a factory, yes, and we would produce parts for automobiles or recreational vehicles. And I like to call where I worked the tunnel. Yes, this is true. It was a tunnel, but not just any type of tunnel. It was a tunnel that was about a mile long. Yes, it was a mile-long tunnel. And in this tunnel, you see, there was always this, it wasn't a conveyor belt, because we had to hang the pieces on hooks. So it was a chain that would run a mile long through this tunnel, where we hooked all the pieces on the hooks, of course. And when I started this job, I was at the bottom of the tunnel. It's the very, very beginning of the tunnel. Because you see, the tunnel and the chain would go up and around to the main floor, and then to the first floor, and then back around, and then back down, yes, to the beginning, where we were processing the parts. So I first started off in the processing sector, where we would make the parts and mold them and prepare them and polish them and sand them. Yes, we would do all that to prepare the pieces. Then you would hook them on the chain so they could start their way up the tunnel. And nobody was allowed in the tunnel unless you had the reason to be there, So then the pieces would make their way up the tunnel, and once they got to the main floor, then you had what was called the shower, or the washing room, if you want, where I first also took my turn working there, because you had to be familiar with all the different types of jobs, you see. And in this shop, or factory, there were no windows that you could really see outside, because when you were in the shower, you were in the room where the pieces would come in from the tunnel, and you would have to wash them. Yes, with soap and some special formula, where you would wash them all down as they were coming in. to that room. Then, as they were slowly making their way out, you see, because there was always one coming in after the other. Yes. Always pieces going by that you had to watch. Then, once they left, they would go back into the tunnel and follow their way, where they would get to the shower and get rinsed. Yes, I like to call that the rinse room. And the rinse room was perfect, you know, because it would rinse all the detergent off the pieces. And then, after that, they would get back into the tunnel and keep on going their route. Yes. And after that, they would go into the dryer, where they would get blown and dried. Yes. And get prepared for what would be next. See? After they go back in the tunnel, after being dried and blown, and they would keep on going, because in that part of the tunnel it was very warm and hot, so the pieces make sure they were very dry. Then after that, they would go around the bend and come into the next and very important place. If you hear dogs barking, don't be afraid. Probably they're getting ready for their night adventures. Yeah. So, anyways, where was I? Yes. After the pieces were turned, the corner, the curve, they would come around. And that's where, after that, I started really the most important part of the employment, if you want. Because after they came in, they would enter what was called the paint rooms. Yes. Out from the tunnel, they would enter the paint rooms, you see. But just, as I don't forget, just before though, the paint rooms, you had the inspector, and he would check the pieces and blow any excess water or anything that was on the pieces to make sure they were spotless. Then they would come into the paint rooms. Yes. You had 4 paint rooms. We would start with the primer, where I first started as a painter, you see. You would spray a coat of primer on all the pieces as they were going by. Then they would enter back into the tunnel, where they would heat up again and dry before getting to the next room, which was the first coat. After I had learned about the primer, I went and worked in the first coat room, where I would apply the color that was necessary for that piece or pieces. And once I applied the first coat, see, they would continue their journey until they made it to the second coat room. Yes, where they would get applied a second coat. But this second coat would have some clear paint in it. Give it that little shine, you see. I also worked in the second coat room. I had to learn all the steps before I could become what was called a Top Gun painter. Yes. And that was in the last room, was the finishing room, where you would check to make sure that all the coats were applied correctly. And then your task was to apply the finishing coat. Yes, that finishing luster, that shine, that beauty. You would apply that to the pieces. So then they would leave the fourth room, the finishing room. And then they would go out and make their way into the inspection room. Yes, where a handful of inspectors would work the chain and take the pieces off and inspect them, make sure they were perfect. If there was any imperfections, they would sand them down and polish them and prepare them. Yes. So then once the pieces were checked, they were hooked back on the chain, where they would start to make their descent down the tunnel. Yes, down to the processing, well, the final step of the whole process, which was the packaging warehouse. Yes, all the pieces would go down the tunnel, where they would make it to the packaging. And that's where you would unhook the pieces and package them and get them ready for shipping. So you see why the tunnel was so long. And sometimes on a good shift, you would be able to do like 400 to 1,000 pieces per shift. And that's why I enjoyed working at night. See, because it was calm and peaceful. Yes. And honestly, it didn't change much anyways. Because in the tunnel, in the rooms, it was always, there was no light. Of course, you had artificial light. But it was also just enough, So that was one of my night jobs. But why also I'm saying this? It's because when I got out of work, I had that sun. The light was there. And I would go home. And that's where the importance of putting those bags in the windows was so vital. It would allow me to relax as I got ready to go to bed for the night, or the day, or whatever. Of course, there's always a percentage of people that love the sun and those sunny days. So those 50% can work days, as we love the night. Now that I have told you my little story of working nights, you see, and also, like I was saying, for those little tricks and hacks, you also want to get yourself a night mask. Yes. Get yourself one of these night masks, which come in very handy. Just to make sure that if you can't get, these blackout curtains or garbage bags or whatever dark material, at least you'll have a night mask. Very important to have. I always make sure I have 2 or 3 hanging around, of course. And another thing that I have to say, I have here your nightwear or your night apparel, if you want, for comfort. See, I have these pajamas. But as you can tell, these pajamas are very loud. They're very bright and very loud. You don't want that. No. You're not going to want bright clothing for night clothing. No. You want to get something more subtle, yes, for the night. Something darker, peaceful, yeah, and where you'll blend in. So, get yourself something more subtle. And you'll feel much better too. Just a little some trick, of course. Everything that's going to help you to unwind. When the nights are calm, not getting too many calls tonight. I guess everybody is really relaxing and enjoying the shadows. I hope so. I do drink a lot of water. It helps me to relax. You want. So now that I've given you some tricks and some hacks, I guess we're going to go on to the next part of the night show. Yes, for all you little lovely little night creatures. So I'm going to want you just to kick back and relax, unwind. And give yourself time to, process those thoughts of night shadows. Because we love you, so take care. And be catching you on our next adventure. Bye for now. Bye.